How do you sell if you're an introvert and you just hate selling? Look, I get it. I am a massive introvert, and one of the things I had to really get good at when I started my company was the idea of selling and bringing on clients. To give a little bit of background, I wanted to share a few things or a few ideas and principles that have really helped me to become comfortable and actually like the sales process. And it might not be what you think. When I first started my company, which is Growth Labs, this agency, one of the things I had to do was go through and convince people to give me money so I can provide them with a service and feed my family. Now, it was really hard because my entire career and background had been spent behind a computer screen, right? I was a massive geek, an IT guy, and I'd been working in IT for like 10 years. The idea of having to talk to people on the phone or in person just sent cold sweat down my back. Like, it was literally hell on earth. That being said though, when you're put in the position of, do I feed my family or do I just continue to suck at this thing? You start to make some pretty quick learnings and try to figure out pretty quickly. I wanted to share with you a few things that really helped me to turn my mindset around and help me to go from, let's just say, a sales zero to, I wouldn't even say a sales hero, but being comfortable enough to sell to grow my company. So let's start with number one thing. And this is something that probably not a lot of sales coaches and trainers talk about. And number one thing for me is just like what you have to sell or believe in what you have to sell. Now, I remember back when I was in uni doing part-time jobs, bouncing around here and there, one of the most fun jobs I ever had was working at an outdoor adventure store, right? You know, hiking equipment, rock climbing equipment. And when I was working at this store, one of my key achievements was becoming the country top salesperson of a shoe brand, an outdoor shoe brand called Salomon. I remember really distinctly thinking it wasn't sales because I just loved the brand so much. I loved what the brand represented. I loved my Salomon shoes that I bought with my own money. And I was just this massive advocate for the brand and for the shoes. And so anytime someone would come into the store and they'd be looking at hiking shoes or bushwalking shoes, I naturally point them to the product that I believed and trusted in and loved. And that was something I probably didn't realize at that point in time, but looking back on it now was I had so much belief in the product itself and so much love for the product, I didn't even see it as sales. So if you're struggling with sales, if you're thinking, oh, how can I position this or get the contract signed, or if you're not comfortable with the process of asking for the sale, chances are you might not believe in the product or in the service itself. Now again, I saw this as an example when I first started selling marketing services as part of my agency. I hadn't done enough groundwork to be confident in what I was selling. As I got better at the marketing side, I actually got better at the sales side because there was more belief coming through. So if you're in that situation, look at it and think about, hey, is it that I don't like the product? Is it that I don't trust the service? Or what is it that you're not 100% comfortable for? Because if you can fix that one part, you probably don't even need a lot of the sales strategies because you have so much belief that your energy and your thought process and your belief carries across to the person sitting across the table from you. Number two thing to look at is the idea of being able to disqualify. A lot of the sales training that's kind of stuck in the past goes through this idea of how do we Jedi mind trick people to saying yes? How do we get people to buy the product and convince them to say yes every single time? What really changed my mindset in terms of fear of sales and not being comfortable with it was the idea that I can start with a no. For me now, when I sit down with someone I'm talking to about our services or when I'm coaching other people to go through and do sales, I get them to start thinking, well, let's make sure this is right for you or not. So I'll start by default and say, hey, I'm not even sure if this is the right product or fit for you because I just don't know enough. And until I know that this is the perfect fit, whether it's a product or service, I don't want to even make an offer. And so a lot of my sales calls, when we look back on it and look at the recordings and use it to train team members or other companies, we actually see that I start from saying, hey, here's the reasons why it may not even be the proper service or product. We may not be the right fit or the perfect fit. And I think what that actually does is it opens up a lot of trust between you and the person you're speaking to, and it opens up a lot of authority just by the fact that you're comfortable in telling them why they shouldn't buy. And so I think that's a part that's missing from a lot of the sales training that came before, where you try to convince and force people to buy. Now it's more of a natural progressive process. That was step number two. Make sure you're okay and start with the no in mind, start with disqualifying them, and that'll make things easier. Number 3, and this is kind of applicable to high ticket sales. So for example, if you're selling shoes or clothing under $100, for example, it may not be as applicable to you, but this is when we start looking at consulting or selling software or selling financial services, like really high ticket products that can make or break a business or have a massive impact to the bottom line. The third thing we look at, especially when it comes to high ticket sales, is the idea of consultative selling. The idea kind of links closely to the second point, but it's all about finding a right solution for the people you're speaking to. For example, knowing where your limitation of services are and what your clients need. Knowing where your clients are at now, where your clients want to go, and what's going to help them bridge that gap. That is such a key process in understanding them that naturally your clients will come, or your leads would flip the script and say, well, you're so helpful with this. How do you think we should solve the problem? At that point, it's then up to you to create the perfect solution for them. But if you can start with the idea of consulting in mind and giving value in mind, you start the conversation on the right foot. Between those 3 tips, 1, have an absolute belief in your product. 2, having this idea that you can start from the no and that you can disqualify as well as qualify them in. And 3, looking at it from a consultative process. For me, it changed my mindset to make this selling process about helping and serving and giving value, and not about, hey, can I get a signature to get the money in the bank account? Because the way that I look at it is each sale doesn't end there, right? It doesn't end with getting the first payment from a customer or a client. It's actually the start of your relationship and your service to them. Take those 3 tips. They've worked really well in the past for me to change my mindset. And look, if you have a great product or service, it probably is a mindset thing. So if you can switch your mindset, you would get better results and you'll serve more people and grow your business faster than ever before. If you want more helpful tips or mindset hacks, whatever it is about sales or lead generation, click on subscribe and follow and link on all that social media stuff that people do. But we'll drop some links below for extra resources to help you on your sales and marketing journey.